if Marv is in an offense run by Sean McVay or Kevin O'Connell last year with, solid quarterback play, right? And those two teams, there were varying levels of QB play. But if he has Kevin O'Connell or Sean McVay, what kind of year does Marv have? How much better is Marv as a rookie in terms of like yardage and production? I appreciate Jonathan Gannon talking about one Marvin Harrison Jr. and the bulk session that you've already alluded to. Here's JG on Marv.
You should see his hamstrings. Yeah, I think that was one of his things that we talked about as a staff, and with him, he wanted to put on a little weight, to do a couple things better. I think so. That was cool. That's a guy, like you asked Danny, but it's a good question, David. All our guys did a really good job this offseason, I feel, but he's a guy that, hey, this is what I want to do. This is how to do it. Here's what you need to do that, and he did it. So did I expect that from Marv? Whatever we told him, yes, I did, truthfully. But he's ready to go. But he looks good. He does.
You see my hamstrings. They're not very big.
They're tight. They're probably tight. They haven't been stretched. They haven't been worked out. Years.
All my lifting, any kind of lifting, is all cosmetic. None of it's real. None of it serves a purpose. I haven't done legs probably since high school football. It is all about one thing. It's about, how do you look when you put on a t-shirt?
Yeah.
That's it. Whereas Marv, it's not for fashion, it's for function. No. And here's what I'll say in all seriousness, because we're jokesters on this show. I do think Marv could benefit from a bigger frame for big time yak ability. His game, even dating back to Ohio State, was not predicated on yak. And then you look at Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors last year. It's like, where is the play from Marv where it's like slant route, throws the guy off of him, takes it 80 yards, right? And I think that this is partially because he wants to be able to increase his ability to make people, miss in space.
You're going to be built like Mr. Incredible. You're just all upper body, no, just tiny little legs. There he is. JV the Pre is vulnerable. No, I agree. I mean, I think that was the plan they laid out. Now, as much as JG said, like Marv came to them with his plan for the offseason, it sounds like it was a joint decision, but it was just like, I think you could wear a little extra weight. You've got kind of a big, tall, lean frame, and you could stand to pack on some muscle. And we've got the training staff to put you in a position to do so. And Marvin put in the work, and good for him, man. I mean, that is going to benefit from him. And according to Buda Baker last week, when we talked to Buda, who jokingly called him, he's like, he's still skinny, but at the same time, like, he still has the explosiveness that they saw before. He didn't lose anything. That's kind of, as far as like old training regimens go, like guys, like they've been able to kind of crack the code as far as how to add size but not lose speed and explosiveness. Like they wouldn't do it if it was compromising that. So yeah, now it's just putting Marvin Harrison Jr. in a position to get in a conducive spot to get yak, instead of like, hey, there's a jump ball, go get it, and then you're going to have a defender all over you.
Shaft wisely points out in the chat, I think Marv had the most contested targets last year in the NFL. Yeah. And it's like, we're going to hear from Drew Petzing here in a second, but it's like, if I'm Marv, I'm like, well, if nothing's changing, and I'm not saying nothing is changing with the evolution of this offense, but it's like, I got to be in a better spot to, go up and get every 50-50 ball. And I got to assume that I'm going to have defensive backs draped over me constantly, because we're not going to scheme open, by moving me around. I'm going to be the sacrificial X receiver for this team. Now, I hope that changes. The highlight that the Cardinals showed on their Twitter, of course, was a crossing route. I think they need to go to that well until it's done. But Marvin Harrison Jr. looks the part. What did his offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, have to say, albeit brief, about the utilization of Marv?
I think if you look at his skill set, there's not a lot of things I'm going to tell you he can't do. So stretch the field, play underneath, play in the slot, move around the formation, play outside. I think that's what makes him so dynamic.
That was Drew Petzing answering a question from Theo Mackey of Arizona Republic, AZ Central, saying, Marv was utilized primarily this way last season. Do you anticipate utilizing him the same way, or are you going to put him in different situations? And that was Drew's answer. He's like, I'm not going to tell you can't do any of those things. He knows he's got a versatile guy. I think what would irk the audience is, well, why don't you use him? Is that versatile piece? Why don't you put him in, different situations to see if he can, you can create mismatches, and it's not just, down the field on the perimeter trying to catch 50-50 balls.
Let me ask you a question. I think I know how you're going to respond.
Yeah.
If Marv is in an offense run by Sean McVay or Kevin O'Connell last year with, solid quarterback play, right? And those two teams, there were varying levels of QB play. But if he has Kevin O'Connell or Sean McVay, what kind of year does Marv have? How much better is Marv as a rookie in terms of like yardage and production?
He's the vocal point, I think, of the passing attack. There's no doubt about it. Not an indictment on Trey McBride at all. It's just like those two guys have featured in year one wide receiver. Like Puka's the record holder, isn't he? Right. And then you get the previous guy in Justin Jefferson. Well, I guess Jefferson was not under KOC back when he jumped in the league, but he continues to keep Jefferson and playing at a high level. He's got Jordan Addison, who he's developed under him. So yeah, I think he statistically is a really good season. But those guys, you have to. Where do you put McVay? Where do you put KOC as far as the offensive minds in this league overall?
It's just funny the way that people nationally talk about Marv and how discouraging it is when we've seen it firsthand. That like, sure, it could be issues with the player and the quarterback combination, but if you and I are on the same page, by the way, I think he at minimum, I'm with Sag in the chat. I think he's got 1,200 yards, which is not that much more than what he had. And he probably has similar touchdown volume, maybe a little bit more. I mean, he has a big time year. And you think about that, it's just like, well, then just do that, Drew Petzing. Emulate that. Look at what the receivers in the NFL do that produce year after year. Like, we blow Mike McCarthy so much grief on this podcast. He was like, I'm going to move CeeDee Lamb all over the place, and I'm going to get matchups. And this kid's going to have, what do you have, like 1,600 yards 2 years ago? Last year, he was super productive. Like, you need to scheme for your players, because as much as I want to sit here and say, like, Marv is a generational prospect, it's like everybody has flaws to their game. Unless you're like Randy Moss, like, you're not coming in the league and you're polished to everything that you do, right? Who was it on our show recently? Talked about Jamar Chase and how many balls he was dropping in training camp, and give their staff credit. They adjusted and they said, we're going to get him. Remember, they get him involved underneath as a rookie and like in the screen game. And they're like one cut and go, like a running back. Like they were like, we're going to use his traits to our advantage. It seemed like the Cardinals offensive staff, did you learn a damn thing over 17 games? It was just like same thing after same thing. We were in Miami last year and he broke out and we're like, this is it. He is going to take over the league. He put Jalen Ramsey in the ground. He's going to take over the NFL. And then what happens? Cardinals like, no, we're just going to get back to doing what we do. And we do here is we run the football and we go 3 tight end sets. And it's just like, you really just can't let a guy get into a groove like that. And you're going to, okay, Marv, you're only going to have 5 or 6 targets a game. Yeah. You damn well better make the most of them. And it's like, you know what? Maybe this environment, as previously constructed, isn't conducive to a player, doesn't matter who it is, having big time wide receiver numbers. And I'm sorry, there is a shelf life to the umph degree trying to run 12 and 13 personnel and making it last 17 plus weeks into the playoff. You just can't win like that.
You got to hope that they parlay probably the last 2 games that you can deem successful for Marvin Harrison Jr. Into the start of the 2025 season and consistently get those performances, those, what Drew Petzing dialed up, like 10 targets in the Rams game, nearly had 100 yards. I think you kind of saw a couple different routes that he ran. But I think the Rams game was probably the one that stood out. Like you talk about the back shoulder play. he made that, right. And then in against San Francisco, it was more quality over quantity. 6 targets, caught 5 balls. One of them was a touchdown. His last catch of the season, the last play from scrimmage for this offense. Like, can you parlay that success at the end of the season into consistent success in 2025? And you hope that those are all the harsh lessons that were learned from an inconsistent start to his career.
Yeah. To me, it's going to be a talking point until it's not. Like, we're really at the point where something's got to give with all parties involved. Like, this is, I hate to use the term like mulligan, but it does feel like this is the one off season where it's just like, nope, we'll get this corrected, whatever you thought. But I'm going to tell you right now, the benefit of the doubt is going to go to the player that was drafted 4th overall, like by the public, by ownership, right? You would think if Drew Petzing is as smart as we think he is, certainly as JG and company think, then he will evolve and make the adjustments. But talk is cheap, and we got to see it.